Pick this over.
Old
Uh,
school.
Old school. All right. I am super excited tonight. I always forget to turn off the sound on Twitch. Always got to edit that out of the YouTube video. All right. Welcome to the Polyhedral crew. Tonight we have a very special episode. We have a one-off episode, a one-shot world building with Microscope. What we're going to be doing tonight is we're going to be playing the Microscope role-playing game by Ben Robbins. The game itself is built as a fractal role-playing game of epic histories. And what this means is that instead of playing individual characters, you are instead creating a world and a timeline all to yourself. We're going to each take turns, and what we're going to do is we're going to be building out a world. So, the steps to play. Well, first I'd like to make introductions. I am not really the GM tonight. I'm really just kind of the moderator because I played Microscope before, and I'm going to help guide us through this process. My name is Amazing Rando. I also go by Randy Oast, Wizard Oast, what have you. I'm the GM for our regular show, The Accords, and I also kind of do an Accords GMing Fate kind of recap episode on the alternate weeks called Running Fate. John, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is John Douglas Kennedy. I'm a tabletop game designer, and I've been playing games with Randy for about the last 4 years. I love indie games, and while I haven't played Microscope before, once Randy said something along the lines of making histories and making your own world, I was just drawn to it right away. So I'm pretty excited for tonight.
Awesome. So Christopher, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
My name is Christopher. I am a regular on the Polyhedral crew. I have been gaming with Randy for the past month and a half, maybe. Longtime internet friends, never got a chance to play until recently. Kind of boring. I live in Ohio. Yay, it's cold. I voted today. Yes!
You are a much better person than I am because I did not vote today.
Man.
I considered doing it at the last minute, but that's bad judgment. I could wreck things even more by not knowing what I'm doing when I'm voting. So
yeah, I actually did the research to find out what was on the ballot and who actually is the best candidate who represents my views and opinions. So I've never been so adult before in my life. I don't know how to feel.
You should feel like an adult. So let's go ahead and introduce our last guest. We have a special guest tonight. We've got which I know that I'm mispronouncing your name, and I've apologized profusely while we set this up, and I will apologize profusely again. But if you'd like to, please go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us the correct pronunciation for your name and a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm Amr. That's the correct pronunciation. It's weird. Pretty much no one who isn't Arabic can say it. So I've gotten everything from Amr to Amir to I had a friend who called me Arm consistently. But he was a close friend, so it was more of a joke thing. But yeah, so I go by anything that remotely sounds like you're referring to me.
You.
Yeah, you works too. Although there's kind of three people here, so which you are you referring to? I'm a electrical engineering student at UT Austin. That's what I do. No cool life backstory of like work or how I know Randy. Randy reached out when he was looking for someone for this episode, and I've always wanted to play Microscope since I started tabletop games. It was something I looked up, and the concept of world building and creating a timeline from start to finish and how the system works is very interesting to what I like to do.
I'm excited to have you here.
Yeah, it's awesome. So let's talk about the rules for Microscope. Microscope, the book itself is not a very big book, and honestly, once you read through it, and especially after you've played it, you just kind of need little reminders to kind of keep the game going. So I actually have the book right in front of me, and to read from it, the first thing that we do in Microscope, and I'm going to talk about all the different steps of the game, and then we're going to get into playing the game. So the very first thing that we do in the game is we decide what we want our big picture to be, and that big picture is what kind kind of like, what kind of story do we want to tell? Do we want it to be sci-fi, a Western, political drama? Like, what do we want? Do we want it like an ancient empire rises and falls? Cavemen at the dawn of time found the first civilization. Like, what is our seed for that? That's the first thing that we have. And there are some quick generators that we can use to generate some seeds, but I know we're also a creative bunch and we can talk about that. Like, I know that I've come to the table with two particular seed ideas. If we like, we can go with. After we have that seed idea, what we do is we bookend history. And what that means is that we create, there's a little Trello board that you can see off to the right in the video. Right now you can see legend, yes and no, and we'll get to that in a moment. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating some more where you can see, now I've kind of moved it over and you can see start and end. What we're going to be doing is bookending our epic history that we're doing. And so we say it starts here and it ends here. And so that's the next step, is that we bookend it. Then after we bookend it, what we do is we create a palette for the game. Okay, this is not colors or font choices. What this is we create a list of things that we want to add to the game. This is where these yes and no columns that you see on the Trello board come into play. We're each going to take a turn and say something that we either want or don't want in the game. If anyone has watched the episode 0 of our Accords game, we did something very similar to this, where we said, we're playing this kind of game. What things do we want and what things do we not want? This is literally where I picked that up from. So what that means is that we can say like, hey, I want robots. But maybe someone in the no column says, I don't want sentient robots, or like, I don't want horses. Or like, I want dragons and I want spaceships. And we can create this palette however we want to. There's no restrictions. We can collaborate on the yes and no elements. So if somebody says, yes, I want dragons, and you like have an idea like, well, maybe we only have like just like one dragon. And so then the yes is there's one dragon and that we can pull from in the palette. So that's that. That's creating the palette. And what we basically do is we just keep going until we run out of steam, basically. I've got a feeling that, we're going to pass around a few times. And if it starts running too long, I'm going to cut, say like this is the last round for everybody. But generally what happens is you kind of peter out and you let that be. Then the next thing that happens is that we actually take the first pass at the game. And the first pass is the same as all of the other passes that come after it. Like a board game, some board games have like a first player token. And so, like John will be the first player. We'll take a pass around. And then at the end of that first player token moves. That first player token in this game is called the lens. Okay, or the person's called the lens, and they declare what is called the current focus. You may notice above our heads there's current focus. It says none. I'm going to be updating that as we play. And the focus is, I want to focus on the genealogy of this family, or I want to focus on the lifetime of this dragon, or I want to focus on agriculture, or it's a theme that everyone is going to build upon as they go through play. So everybody, the lens, the first person who does that, the first player token, so to speak, will get to create two things. Usually it's a period and then an event or a scene, and I'll talk about those in a moment. Then it's going to go clockwise based on what we have here on our screen. So then whenever it comes back around to the lens gets to finish it off with two things, adding to it. And then what's going to happen is the person directly counterclockwise creates a legacy. So what this legacy is a legacy is some kind of overarching theme that you pull out of that last phase that we had. So if the lens focused on the lifetime of this dragon, maybe the legacy that person pulls out is, like the horrific deeds of the dragon, whatever we named the dragon. And so each person can have one legacy, and that's it. Your legacy does not have to do does not have to have anything to do with your particular focus or lens or anything that you've done. If somebody else has done a lot of stuff that you like, you can pick a legacy that relates to them. One of the big things about this game is that you have, like, once you put it out into the game, you have no ownership over it. So whenever you're creating aspects in Microscope, like, we're going to banter because we're a bunch of smart Alex, but we don't build by consensus. Like, we don't say like, I want to add that the dragon dies in this time period. Like, there's no debate about it. It's just, I write it down and add it. So I mentioned that you can create a period, an event, or a scene. And each one of these that you create can be light or dark. And what that generally means is that, like, the Civil War, the United States Civil War, maybe you declare that was a dark event. And it's just the tone of that particular event. Or maybe you say that the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation was a light event. And so you have to have a justification for whether or not it's light or dark. And usually based on what you create, you can, you have a good reason. That doesn't influence anything in play other than to say whether it was a light period or a dark period, but that does kind of influence maybe what people create. Like, it doesn't mechanically influence. So I'm almost done with the rules. Last little stretch is periods and events and scenes. Okay, so a period is a time period. It can be a couple of weeks through a couple of thousand years, depending on what we decide to create. And so a period has to be inserted between other periods. And that's the limitation there. And the periods in our game are going to be tracked by columns. So every column is going to be a different period. Except for the YesNo and Legend columns. The start and end are actually going to be, they themselves are just kind of like the start and end markers. We're going to have periods in between. So inside of periods are events. Yes, are events. And events are going to be like the cards that we add to the Trello board. And an event is something that happens, that transpires. Like, so-and-so dies. This family is founded. This civilization starts. This colony has been colonized, or this colony has been wiped off, or the colony grows. Like, there's a lot of different things that we can do with that. And then inside of events are scenes, and scenes are, in Microscope, there's two kinds of scenes. Today, we're only going to be using one kind. It's a dictated scene. And so what that is you're going to create a scene. You're going to have, like, a question that you want answered, and you're going to dictate how that scene rolls out. It's kind of like, think of it like box text from Dungeons and Dragons, where it's like some NPCs banter and do a thing, and you have no influence over it. Like, that's, you're creating like a block of text scene like that. Nothing long-winded, but basically, like, the princess and the prince from a foreign land run off to get married. This agitates the king, and the king sends out assassins to kill them both. That's a dictated scene. The other one is a role-played scene. I know we're all, like, really strong, good role players, but the reality is that, like, for time, because we're only going to be playing for about 2.5 hours, I'm going to put the kibosh on that, just because I want to make sure that we get a lot of periods and events and dictated scenes out there. So I know that's a lot to digest, but are there any questions before we start?
No, I think once we start playing, I think we'll pick it up pretty quickly.
Oh, absolutely. The game is dead simple. It is, honestly, it is one of my favorite role-playing games. I literally like to play Microscope before kicking off a campaign, just because it lays the groundwork for, like, whatever fantasy world you have. And, like, as a GM, like, I can bring a whole lot of yeses and nos to a game, or to a Microscope game. Let the players fill out some more, and then start building events. And then that creates ownership of the world with the players who participated. It's pretty fantastic. So without further ado, I say that we get started. And getting started means that we have to have a seed. So I'm going to tell you guys about the two ideas that I have that we could play, or we can talk about what what we want to. Like we have to kind of brainstorm here. So my 2 seeds, and these are literally campaign ideas I have. So one of them is, it was stolen from Reddit. Right? No, I swear it's safe for work. It's safe for work.
You're not safe for work.
I know, right? So the United States government has been experimenting with dimensional travel for some time. And generally it's viewed as like, just they're not sure what to do with it. But then what happens is in this alternate dimension that they're able to go to, they discover oil. And so like my microscope seed for that is that we start with the invention of interdimensional travel. And we end with the closing of the last gate, or the closing of the last like dimensional rift. And my thought is that we can explore like a modern game. What would happen if there was oil in another dimension, and things like that. That might be, given the current environment, maybe not, but that was one of the ideas. I'll tell you the second idea, and then I'll open it up. The other idea that I had is there is a giant intergalactic spaceship, like a generation ship, that is, for whatever reason, is taking a collection of different life forms, like sentient creatures or sapient creatures, and they're trying to escape something. Not important, not relevant. What happens is they end up like their engines fail and they crash land on a planet that is that lacks resources. The planet has enough resources for them to sustain life, but they don't have enough resources to build like there aren't enough metals to build new spaceships and to allow them to get back into space and to build nuclear reactors. And so what happens is that they, in order to survive, they literally have to bring their technology level down to like 1700s, 1800s sort of level of technology. And then the my thought is like, I don't know what the end point would be for Microscope. Like the campaign idea that I had for this was to do this and then do Microscope and then have it be at like the 10,000 year mark, or like 5,000 year mark, like after they had crash landed. So like this whole world has flourished. Their population's gotten like bigger and stuff like that. But those are the 2 ideas that I have for seeds. I don't know if you guys are interested in science fiction or modern, or if you want to go fantasy, or what you want to do. So I'm going to open up the floor to John, Christopher, for you guys. What are your ideas?
I'm a big fan of interrupting people. I'm a big fan of sci-fi, and the generation ship idea is something that's usually, in my experience anyway, not really done much of, because it's usually either Expanse like, where it's all just in one solar system, or your Star Wars, Star Trek, where you have faster than light travel, and so it doesn't matter. But the idea of a generation ship that has no chance for calling for help, trying to eke out a living on their own, is appealing to me.
For me, I'm fine with, like, I like sci-fi and I like fantasy, so I'm good with any setting that either includes one or combines both. Generation ship idea definitely is pretty interesting. Kind of would be interesting to see what would happen if humans were forced to settle somewhere new but didn't have the resources they had or the knowledge of the world. Kind of have to relearn how to live.
Well, when my chair's not making fart noises, I like sci-fi, and that sounds a little more appealing to me than the other one. The other one sounds pretty cool. And to be clear, we have different alien races on the ship, or it's all humans?
That's something that we can determine in the YesNo. My initial thought is like a cornucopia of aliens. Yeah. So, and we can discuss whether or not we want humans or not. But does that sound like, it sounds like we're in agreement to do the crashed generation ship.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right. Awesome. Let me just go ahead and update this. So our concept is crashed generation ship. All right. So I've updated the Trello board. The next step for us is to do yeses and nos. Okay, and so what this means is that if we're gonna do it clockwise. Actually, let me go ahead and just add everybody in Trello. I'm not sure how many of you have Twitch open to see what order everybody is in. So let's see. This is going clockwise. All right, so I have listed us clockwise. I'm going to actually let John go first for adding a yes or no element, and then we'll go clockwise from there. So, John, what would you like to see or not like to see in this?
I'd like to see sentient machines.
All right, I've added that to the yes column. All right, so you're next.
All right. I think I would like to see some more hard sci-fi elements, like slightly more realistic science or technology.
You're a man after my own heart. All right.
I would say this is sounding like a game I want to run.
This was on my short list for games. Whenever I started my new campaign about a year ago, this was one of the 3 ideas that I posted. So I'll share the Facebook link to the note later. But anyway, all right, Christopher, what would you like?
I would definitely want to put in the no column, no aliens.
Just humans?
Yeah, just humans. No sentient alien species. Like we can find, critters and whatnot on other planets, but just stick with the people for now.
I tell you, let's put that to a vote because I would like a cornucopia of aliens. So everyone who supports just humans, please raise your hand. Oh man, this is horrible.
I think
All right, well I tell you what. You know what?
Okay, so how about I refactor that a little bit?
Oh, sure.
Okay. No helpful alien species.
Well, everyone's going to be on the same ship that crashes on the planet. So what do you mean by
Right.
no helpful?
Like if there is an alien species that are encountered, they're going to be standoffish and like we're not sure how to deal with them. So there's the whole, they're not immediately going to be, oh, we're explorers, we're friendly. It's like, no, we have no idea who you are. You're weird. We're going to.
Oh, so if the ship itself is a cornucopia of aliens, would you be satisfied with poor
okay.
relationship?
I was
about-
misunderstanding. Never mind. Ignore me.
No. We can hash this out. I mean, like I can see being like humans and robots, but my thing is that like, I mean, do we want it to turn into Firefly?
what if we cut the take a compromise where there's only the aliens that arrive with the humans. There's just no
Yes.
one else around in the surrounding
Yes.
space. So there's the aliens that come in on the ship that can communicate with humans and are maybe not even necessarily integrated with human culture, but somewhat aware and can interact with it. But
Then
then
there's-
there's no other
yeah.
aliens.
Yeah, there's a whole host of reasons why everybody could have been on this giant ship, and they could maybe not be pleasant. So why don't we say,
Well, that's kind of what I meant when I said
Yeah.
no outside alien species. So whoever's on the ship is on the ship, but we're not going to just find another alien species that just happens to be cruising along at, warp 7.
okay, no outside aliens. All right, I've added that. So let's see. Now I need to add an element. I'm actually going to add an element. I want lots of aliens were on the ship. Are we okay with that? All right.
Yep.
Cool. So we are back to John.
I'm trying to figure out. I've been thinking about this one while we were all talking. I want the technology level to be like a focus on practical and where extravagances are like shunned.
Okay.
So like people all watch stuff on like DVD, but nobody has like, you know, a 4K TV set up for, you know, like hi-fi internet.
Okay, so no extravagances, but so no extravagances, like, you know, very practical.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we'll say practical technology for yes. All right.
I would like to say a no to ruins or like precursor stuff on the planet. I kind of just want it to be a barren place that they fall on. If that's
all right.
The story would be about the people and not about, you know, oh, those who came before.
right, exactly. If there is ever like a ruin or technology, it's just a convenient thing, or it's just like part of the world. It's not the focus of the story of finding out why they were there or who they were.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, there's so many sci-fi stories that are like that. All right, Christopher, your turn.
Um,
And there's no need to balance the yes and the no columns, just to let you know.
I would like to see, to kind of go along with the more hard sci-fi elements, I would like to see the more dirty, you know, because the ship is old. It's not like, you know, most sci-fi shows where ships are hundreds of thousands of years old and they work fine. The ship is old, it's rusty, it's in disrepair, you know, spit and duct tape keeping the engines together kind of thing.
So technology is falling apart.
I don't necessarily think it's falling apart, it's just that the ship itself is running out of spare parts, I guess, in disrepair.
All right.
One might say.
All right.
So it's not that there's a recession of technology, it's just that they can't keep up with the repair work because they're just running out of parts.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
No replicators, damn it.
Which leads me to my, I don't know if this is technically a yes or a no, but I'd like to generally limit the technology level to that of the Wild West. Because they're going to crash on the planet and we're going to be exploring a long time period, like either, depending on how we do it, like a couple of generations or several thousand years. And so society, like from that one ship, we could potentially populate the entire planet. And because they don't have the resources, which actually that's not even listed here. So I'm going to actually write that down. I'm going to say no resources for advanced technology. So what that means is anything that they have that is like technological, they had to have brought with them or adapted from being brought with them.
Right. So like no easy energy sources on planet, no metals or anything that they can use for more complicated stuff.
Yeah, like they could have an energy source in the ship, but the ship.
Can I play Vash the Stampede?
I don't understand.
It's a Trigun reference. That's, if you watch anime at all, just look up Trigun. That's exactly the world we're building.
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar, so cool.
Pretty good.
All right, so that's mine. John?
We've really covered a whole lot of stuff.
People, politics, the planet.
Well, I was thinking I kind of want like less like religious strife and more like the conflict comes more from what do they do next, and not just like, you know, we worship, you know, God A, well, we worship God B, and instead have it be like, no, we're all like, we need to fix the ship so we can leave the planet. Whereas the other group is like, no, we need to, like, we're here now. It's our new home. We're going to build our planet.
So no or limited religious strife.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good.
It would feel a little cliche.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Well, there goes my Trigun reference.
I would like to see a lot like Martian style MacGuffin Rube Goldberg construction where like they kind of have to put things to different uses. Society has like a water pump, but it's actually made out of spare engine parts repurposed with like an old cannon from the ship. Like
Nice.
I want to see society has been forced to take things apart and make very structurally unsound structures that any Earth engineer would be like, why are you using this for this?
All right, so I wrote Rube Goldberg, unsound structures that are needed.
Yeah.
So that'll represent like the hodgepodge. All right, Christopher.
As one who's not done this whole microscope thing, at what point do we stop adding to these lists?
When we start to run out of steam, we're probably going to like 1 or 2 more passes, and then we're going to kind of call it. The thing is, we want to iron out things that are important, and so the way that Microscope works is you're actually supposed to keep going until everybody's out, until somebody says no, and then you go around and give them a second chance, and then that's it. After that round, it's done. Because you want to make sure that you get like everything out of your system that you want to that's related to this particular thing. So yeah.
Well, then for my no column, I don't want there to be one centralized governing body. Since you said we're kind of doing Wild West kind of tech level, with the exception of a few advanced technologies that survived. That means that each homestead, I guess, is going to pretty much be a small governing body by itself. There's not one overarching government in charge of everybody.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so this is back to me for a yes or a no. I'm trying to think of, I'm going to say that there are many smaller continents on the planet. So the planet itself, like instead of there being like just the, what do we have, 7 continents? Maybe there are like a dozen or 20-ish continents. So I'm going to say it'll pitch in a little geography there. So let's see. Let's make this the next to last round. John.
I want to see one of the groups on the planet be like a neo-primitive group where they've not like regressed to like cavemen, but they've sworn off advanced technology and they've declared they're going to survive based solely on like their own skills.
All right. One of the groups has become neo-primitive. All right. Cool.
I'm not sure if this is a yes or a no, but I want the local life, both flora and fauna, to be non-Earth-like or non-familiar to all the species, because I kind of want to see them rediscover how to interact with the world without their technology and without their pre-built knowledge. They kind of have to rebuild their whole knowledge of everything from the ground up.
Okay. I put that in the yes column as flora and fauna are foreign. I like the alliteration.
So like not like cows and deer and wolves, but like, hey, did you see any of those 6-legged lizard creatures today?
Right. And it turns out that the thing that looks like a spider is actually the most edible thing on the planet.
Spider meat.
Delicious. All right, cool. Christopher?
I would like to see outlandish geography. Like if you guys have seen Avatar, they have the Hallelujah Mountains that are floating in the sky. Like things that logically should not be are for one reason or other.
Sounds good. All right, so it's back to me for my penultimate contribution.
Ooh, that's a $10 word there.
Yeah, right? I feel like I want something in the no column. I can't think of what that no column would be. I'm going to say King of the Hill fights over the crashed ship.
Nice.
So basically, no one owns it or no one has it for long. So not technically a yes, not technically a no, but I put it in the yes column. So John, we're starting the last round.
It's so hard. I'm trying to think of like interesting things. We've covered a whole lot.
You can also say like, I'm done, pass. This is
okay. Then I'm done.
Okay. Awesome.
Going off of Christopher's outlandish geography, I want to see weird atmospheric or weather things that happen that kind of like, hey, we're rebuilding our communication towers. Maybe we'll reach Earth. Wait, why is the rain forming a giant arrow towards this tower?
Sounds good. Weird weather whatnots. I've again with the alliteration. All right, cool.
I'm a big fan of alliteration.
Christopher.
I feel like we need to add one more thing to the no column.
All right.
So I am going to say that we have no idea what we're going to do and pass.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got nothing else that's not going to seem silly.
All right. Well, I've got a perfect closer in the no column. There is no chance of rescue.
I like it.
So there we go. All right. Cool. All right. So we have our yes and no column. And so basically what this means is that as we create elements, we are going to, you are not allowed to do anything that's in the no column. So aliens are not going to visit the planet. There are no resources for advanced technology. Anything that gets built is going to have to be built with something that they already have. There's no or limited religious strife, so let's not make that a big deal. There's no central government, so you can't have a centralized authority, except as maybe one who's trying to be a central authority, because that's, you could always have there be a period that the centralized government of Eurasia, and then we can the lens can be, let's destroy it. And then you are encouraged to use things from the yes column. Here's the deal. We do not have to use everything in the yes column. That's just part of the palette that we're going to use to paint with. So, all right. So let's see. So we've done the big picture. We have now, we've done our palette. We technically did this out of order because we're supposed to bookend history, but I like the yes and no's doing the palette first, because then that gives us an idea of where we're going to start and finish. So let's talk about where we're going to start and finish. We are going to start with crash of the generation ship on this planet. That is where we start. This crash, do we want this to be a light or a dark event? Could this be a light event because the ship crashes, and because of the engine failure or whatever caused it to crash, brings them off the radar of whoever was hunting them, chasing them, whatever the case might be? Or is it dark because a lot of people died and they weren't able to get to where they were trying to get to safety? If you want to be light. All right, good. It was a light event. It was a good thing that the ship crash landed, even though it was a bad event. So where do we want to end this?
So I would like to ask a question for this.
Yes.
What is the chances they have of leaving the planet? And if that chance exists, where do we want to stop relative to that chance?
Here's the question. Do we want that to be part of what we're building? That they're able to get off world?
That would be a great endpoint.
Yeah, because if that is a thing, I think that would be the endpoint. I don't think I at least don't want to go past that if it's at all possible.
And it doesn't even have to be they fix the ship and everyone leaves. It could just be a small ship leaves to find a nearby something to bring materials back or something. They finally reclaim the stars, even if it's just a small shuttle.
Build the first rocket.
I like it.
Sounds good. Yeah, because we didn't add this in the yes or no column, but there could be several moons around the planet that are ore rich, and it just takes them literally hundreds or thousands of years to figure out how to build rockets with what they have on the planet. So those are our bookends. Now, is that building the first rocket a light or a dark event?
I'm going to say a dark event.
I'm inclined the same, because I think that them getting back out into space is going to just reintroduce the problems they were avoiding to begin with.
Yeah.
At least
fair enough.
At least that's my opinion.
I think it would be more along the lines of, once someone's built the technology to sort of leave the planet, that's when the other nations would then lead to strife, as in who gets to decide who leaves and who gets the ore first.
Right. It's
Yeah.
like you have
Yeah.
access to a resource no one else has, and if you're fast enough, you might be able to stop everyone else from even getting it.
It literally makes you a mega power.
Yeah.
Like even if they were just a small nobody, once they hit the stars, that's it. They win.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's some guy in your
Alright.
basement builds the rocket, and he controls the world.
Zaphram Cochrane is the name that you're looking for. So, all right. So, here is, we need someone is the lens. Let's see. I'm going to actually open it up. Who would like to be the lens first?
Could you reiterate what the lens does after you're done drinking?
You mean you don't remember from that long rules tirade? The
Dude,
lens,
you gave us like half an hour of rules that
yes.
I don't remember all of it.
That's okay. So what the lens does is the lens says that the current focus is thing. So the focus could be on survival. The focus could be the first generation after the crash. The lens could be warring nations of the planet. There's a lot of different things that lens could be, or that lens can declare as the current focus. So whoever is the lens declares the focus, and we each have to create things that reinforce that focus. You can, like, as long as it's reasonable, you have you can create whatever you want. Then it goes around. So if I was the lens, then I would create two things. I create a period, and then I can create an event or a dictated scene. Then John gets to create one thing, a period, a scene, or a period, an event, or a dictated scene. Then gets to go doing the same. Then Christopher, you get to go. Then it comes back to me. I get to create one or two new things, periods, events, or scenes. And that closes out my focus. What then happens is counterclockwise, you, Christopher, then get to declare a legacy based on everything that we created in that last round.
Okay.
And then the lens moves to John, and then John declares the current focus. We're going to do this once, and we're going to see where we're at time-wise. I'm hoping that we can get through 2 loops, but if we can't get through 2 loops, then we'll at least get through 1.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, with that said...
Trying to make a Fruit Loops joke, but nothing's coming to mind. Damn it.
Yeah. Insert Fruit Loop joke here, right? So,
Bingo.
all right. There you go. All right. So who would like to be the first lens? I mean, I'll go first if you'd like, but I figured I'd open it up since you guys seem to like have your imaginations firing.
I'll
go.
All right, John, you are a brave, brave man. So, John, you get to declare the current focus. So, what would you like the current focus to be?
I want the current focus to be a land grab where I don't know if this is going to be like right after the ship crashes, or maybe it's like 10 years after it crashes, and everybody decides they're going to leave the ship, not permanently, and like they're moving out to grab areas of land to try to grab more resources. And so whatever ruling council we have of the ship has said go out and get more land. And so it's literally like, the I forget what it's called, like the wagon train period.
All right. So I've updated the current focus to be a land grab. So one of the first things that you do, John, is you create a time period. So you can create a time period, like whatever period you want. You can have it be right after the crash. You can have it be like whatever you want it to be. I know that's really open-ended, but...
time period, it's going to be 5 years after the crash. Because, maybe that's not too long.
Let's just say after the crash as the time period. That will make it like,
Oops.
Yep, there we go. All right, after the crash is a time period. Is this time period light or dark, John?
I'm going to say dark.
All right, great. You now get to create, you can either create a second period or you can create a, you can
event.
Create, a period, an event, or a scene. I don't know why I just had a total brain fart. So do you want to have an event in like that happened after the crash?
I'm gonna go for an event, and I'm gonna say that it's a period of dangerous discovery, where
Well, what kind of danger happens?
well, I'm thinking that going off of what Am said earlier, this is the period when they're going out and they're discovering new animals, new flora, new environments. And this is when they're like, oh man, no, we could totally like settle on this plane of like volcanic glass that becomes really, really hot every 10 days. And we didn't know about it. So this is where like the settlers, as they're moving out from the ship, are discovering that the planet does not conform to any sort of normal terrestrial logic that they're used to. And it's not like trying to kill them, but they learn that like the thing that looks just like a cow is actually like really, really poisonous. Whereas the thing that looks like a jellyfish is really, really nutritious and doesn't stink.
All right, so I'm going to say I'm going to call that deaths by local flora and fauna. I'm going to say that in the first few weeks. So deaths by local flora and fauna in the first few weeks as settlers learn about the planet. Is that what you were kind of getting at?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So is that a light or a dark thing?
I'd hate for it to continue to be dark, but you know what? Dark, because things are bad and they're getting a little worse.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. All right. So, it's now your turn. You can contribute one thing. You can contribute a period, an event, which is a specific event, like the Gettysburg Address, the Battle of Gettysburg. Don't ask me why I've got the Civil War on my mind tonight. Or you can do a dictated scene. Like if you wanted to play out a specific scene where some people died by local flora and fauna, you're welcome to.
Okay. And so if I choose a scene, can it just be anywhere in that time period, or does it have to be related to a specific event?
It does not have to be tied to a specific event. It can just be like in that it goes in a time period. So after the crash, you can put it in there, or unfortunately, you need to actually put it in an existing time period.
Right.
So
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I want to do a dictated scene right after the like at the tail end of the flora and fauna discovery, like after their kind of like initial exploration.
Yeah.
So the scene kind of opens up on the ship. There's a group of people gathered, having explored the island and having had their first encounters with all the life forms and trying to figure out what it is that needs to be done. And they're in heated discussion as they have discovered that the island they crashed on is probably the least hospitable place on the planet, and that they can't really support all of them on this planet. And so one of them starts arguing with the other, saying, "We have to leave this island. There are other places we can go. We will not survive here."
Yes. All right. I tell you what, go ahead and Christopher pointed out to me privately that the first pass for Microscope is usually periods and events, and not for scenes. So that is, if you could hold on to that and maybe come up with either a period or an event.
Sure.
I'm so sorry. The first pass is periods and events, and then we add scenes later.
That's totally fine.
Okay.
So go in an event, and basically I think the event is kind of a schism between a bunch of factions. One group of factions wants to stay and try to terraform or adapt the crash island so that they have the safety of the ship. Another group thinks the best option is to just go to nearby continents and surrounding islands and do them. And the final group has kind of put together somewhat salvageable ships and are just going to head out as far away as possible and find some landmass in the far off distance and make do there. So you got the explorers, the islanders, and the ship guardians.
I like that. So so one group wants to stay near the ship, but the environment is poor. So that would create a kind of a reason why most people wouldn't want to do that anyway.
Right, and the groups that
and
stay
then-
kind of can't agree because there's so few resources for them to agree on.
Yeah, another wants to go to a nearby island. And yet others want to get further away. All right, so the schism of factions, is this a light thing or a dark thing?
So I think it actually ends up being light, so I'm gonna go with that. Like at the time, it's kind of dark because like they're fracturing, but a result of it is that more opportunities are opened up for them.
Okay.
People get access to land and new resources, as many resources as are available on the planet. So
Sounds good. All right. So, Christopher, it is your turn.
Alrighty. I am actually going to create another period.
All right. Are you creating it or do you want me to create it?
Oh, I'm totally all over this.
All right, cool.
It is entitled One Door Closes, Another One Opens. And it is actually a light event. It is when the ship itself explodes. Because up until that point, everybody was thinking, okay, we can get out of here. You know, we can't cannibalize too much of the ship. We need it to leave. But once the ship goes boom, that's it. You know, they know that there's no rescue, there's no hope of leaving. They know that this is now their home. So it kind of unburdens them in a way.
All right.
That's what we get for naming the ship the Dynamite.
There you go.
I mean, it was a pretty explosive rocket to begin with. No, that was horrible. I'm sorry.
So when the ship explodes, because our current focus is land grab, could it be whenever the ship explodes due to territorial fights?
Well, for the first pass, there is no lens. There's no
Oh.
focus.
Okay, so then I made a mistake. That never happens. That never happens.
Never happens. We'll
All
edit
right.
that out in post. It's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I can totally do that. All right, so that is good to know. So in the first pass, it can be anything that you want. So, all right.
The only limitation is events have to go in existing periods. You can't just make up an event in a period that doesn't exist.
All right. Let's see. So it is now my turn. I want. Let's see. I want to create a period. Let me just literally create a period there.
I see what you just did there.
Yeah, isn't that awesome? So let's see. I want a period of. I'm trying to think of what I want to say. So after the crash, that's going to be very interesting to explore. The ship explodes. I want a period of war with the androids. There is yes. So one of the things that we said was that there are sentient machines. And there are supply constrained resources. So I'm creating a period, war with the androids. I'm going to create a description card. This is where androids fight for their survival.
What? Who knew that by creating
Not be
androids,
spare
turn
parts. No, they're not turning. They're just, they just like, let me mark that as a period description. So what that means is that like the androids themselves, because like what they're made of is incredibly like valuable, people start talking about how like, oh, we can totally like back them up. And like, once we're able to create androids again, bring them back to life. So it's not really killing them. So, but of course, if you were an android, would that be a good idea? No. So that's, oh, go ahead.
Good.
I was gonna say that's my thought on it.
Mhm.
So John and I'm gonna let you guys have because we kind of messed up the first round with having a focus and whatnot, I'm going to give you guys carte blanche to create a period or an event. And after the two of you do that, then we're going to focus on John's land grab and then start playing for real. So John, you can create a time period or an event willy-nilly.
And that's the event has to go after the Android War, or it can be...
An event has to go in any of the periods that exist. So, like, if you want to create an event, if you have something in mind, you may need to create a period and then circle back around and create that event next time you have a chance.
Well, I'll put an event in the Android War where we're going to see, like, the Battle of Silicon Flats, when we'll just have that be like the defining moment of that period, where whenever historians on this planet go back and look at that period, they're going to name, it all started or ended with the battle for Silicon Flats.
Okay. Is the defining moment for the androids? Is that a light or a dark event? Note that I haven't asked what the result is. I've just asked, is it a light or dark event?
Man, I keep throwing out dark ones because it makes sense. But you know what? This could be a light one. I want this to be a light one.
All right, sounds good. I mean, this can be completely dark. That's fine. All right. Dark. So, what would you like to do?
I would like to create a time period, Return of the Explorers, which is when sometime off in the future, when the people who set out to find a new continent far off in the distance either return or reestablish contact with those who stayed closer to their ship.
All right, so you said Time of the Explorers?
Yeah.
And where do you want that to be? Do you want that to be, like, where in the current, like, do you want it?
It's after, I think, everything that's already happened, definitely. It's somewhere towards the end.
Oh, okay. So those explorers that go far out, they're before the first rocket, but after the ship explodes.
Right. I think those explorers head out around the schism, but they don't head back, or we don't know what happened to them until way later. Like, they go and they settle their own place, and whatever happened to them out there is not part of the ship's history until decades or generations later.
All right, sounds great. Is that a light or a dark event?
You know what? Let's call this a light period.
All right.
I think at least initially, when the explorers return, it's a good thing.
Time of the Explorers return. Explorers who previously left return. All right. Just putting in a little bit of a description as a reminder. Because this Trello board is going to be available for all time, because Trello will never go away. So, all right. So we're going to circle back around and do things correctly. The current focus is land grab. John has already created elements for it. Has created elements for it. Christopher, create a land grab element, and then I will, and then we'll finish everything out.
Alrighty. So it just has to revolve around the theme of land grab. Doesn't actually have to be in the land grab period, right?
That's correct. Yeah, it can be any time. It just has to be, like, related to it, and, like, it just has to be related to it.
Alrighty. So I'm going to create an event in the War with the Androids period. The androids all band together. Typing and talking at the same time is obviously beyond my skills tonight. The androids band together and claim a plot of land as their own.
All right. Is that a light or a dark event?
I'm actually going to say that's a dark event because that is the impetus that started the war, because androids are like, we're not being treated right, so we're just going to go our own separate ways. And so they're like, we're leaving you guys. It's all cool. And the people are like, no, you can't do that. You're our property. Blah. So it kind of was the powder keg, if you will.
Ah. All right. Let's see. So it's my turn. I like the kind of eras that we have. I want to explore after the crash. Let's see. I'm going to say. So mine is going to be event. Dozens of nations form. Yeah, dozens of nations form along xenomorphic lines. So dozens of nations form along xenomorphic lines, meaning that like most of the alien races have a tendency to stick together, creating dozens of nations. So I'm going to say that this particular event is dark because it is instead of having a cohesive whole that was on the generation ship that like for better or worse held everything together, like the shit's come apart. So that is my addition. So now we come back to John. John, you get to add 2 more things within your current focus of land grab, either a time period, an event, or a dictated scene.
Okay. I want for a dictated scene to be like during the land grab to be where like some leader emerges. The only name that comes to mind is a really crappy one. But a leader comes like who leads this movement to go out and seize more territory. And the scene would be he's addressing the people around the ship where most of them are frightened or they don't want to leave or they don't know what's going on. And it's like an inspirational scene where he's encouraging them to go out and essentially manifest destiny on this planet.
Man, Christopher is doing a really good job of rules lawyering me. Reminding that that a scene has to be inside of an event. And so here's the deal. That can go inside of the schism of factions because it sounds like he's leading the adventurers off. Is that correct, John?
Yeah. Okay.
Leader, name.
The only name that I had come to mind was I saw him as like an allegory for Moses. Just sort of be like perhaps his name was like Captain Moses, where he was a descendant of the original captain, and now he wants to lead people.
Okay, Captain Moses gives a rousing speech and leads a moderate-sized contingent off to explore the world.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I'm trying to make sure I understand.
Oh, no, I understand, man.
All right. So
I take games super seriously, Randy. You know this. I will destroy you.
I would like to say that I don't. I mean, you've seen my characters. Sentient cat, angry android, etc. So is that a light or a dark event, John?
Light.
Or not event, but scene.
It's a light scene because it's encouraging. It's where the people aren't just suffering around the ruins of their ship, and it's like trying to make the future not seem so grim, even though in the future there's going to be a war with the androids.
Yeah. So all right. So them changing labels to make sure that all of the cards are marked appropriately as events, scenes, etc. Oh, that's not an event. I've never done this before. All right, great. John, if you'd like to, you can create a second period, event, or scene if you'd like to, or you can abstain.
You know what? Just because it feels like because I kind of guided the course on all this. How about I abstain?
Well, the whole point of the role that you've got right now is to guide the course, so you're not doing anything wrong.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure.
You're playing right, John. It's fine.
Okay, then the thing I wanted to add was after the war with the machines was I wanted to add something like it's hard to describe. like the cataclysm, where it's not necessarily like fire rains down from the heavens and destroys everything, but we have like they're going out to grab the land. They're building their societies. The ships exploded. There's now a war with the androids, and even though we don't know yet how that war ended, now we have what's known as the cataclysm, where there's famine and starvation, and they realize that there's not enough uranium on the planet for their ship. So that's the big impetus between like where we agreed on the technology being kind of like downgraded, where that's where everyone goes, okay, we can no longer have iPhones. We're going to have to bring back the old flip phones.
Bring back Zach Morris. Gotcha.
Yeah. Awesome. So, so here's a question. That cataclysm period, where does it happen?
After the war with the machines.
But before the ship explodes?
I'm going to say after. It's after the ship explodes.
All right. And it sounds like the cataclysm is a dark event. Is that true?
Yeah. It's pretty dark.
Make that dark shit.
Nobody's going to get excited to be told that they don't have the internet anymore.
My fun afternoon is walking through a field of raining fireballs. Is that not yours?
But if I can't Instagram it, what's the point?
You're right.
How would they know what I'm eating?
The same giant spider you always eat.
Right.
But this time it's cooked better.
It's
this time it's sepia.
awesome.
Hashtag no filter.
So now it is, so John's turn as the lens is over. And what we do now is the person counterclockwise, which is me, creates a legacy based on what John has put forth on everything within the land grab. The legacy that I'm going to say is, the legacy that I'm going to put forth is, what is it? Survival through violence. That is the legacy. Let me find my text here to change it. Let's see. Come on. Legacy. Survival through violence. Of course, none of my text is appropriately justified, so it just moved, but hey, there you go. All right. So the legacy that I pulled from that is survival through violence, meaning that like in order for everybody to survive and get through what they need to, this is a very violent place. People are not getting along. There's not a whole lot of kumbaya and like, Mozart. So, all right. So that is it for John's turn. Now it is Am's turn. You are the lens. You get to dictate what the current focus is.
Yes. So I'm going to bring the focus to something that I mentioned a lot in the yeses period, which is technology. I kind of want to focus a bit on like what the technology and architecture of the society looks like, what they build, what they don't build, how they adapt after the cataclysm. What is the recovery from the cataclysm? What's the upturn? Since we've been talking about so many dark events, let's talk about, what do they do to move forward finally after so many years of failing?
Very nice. I like that. That's very positive. All right. So, you get to create a time period, event, or dictated scene.
Right. So I'm going to start by... you had something?
Well, I was going to say most likely a time period, probably, but what would you like to do?
I would like to create the Silicon Age of Engineering, and I'm going to put it in right after the Cataclysm.
Oh. All right.
Which basically is the time period in which, humanity and the other nations are kind of developing and exploring technology. They're trying to figure out, well, I know that this is a phone, but what else can I do with a phone that will help me more than Instagram? Because Instagram isn't going to help feed me tomorrow. And kind of discovering, hey, we're actually pretty innovative and smart. We can do cool things to make this horrible situation work.
All right. Excellent. All right. And that's a light time period. Excellent. Mm-hmm. All right, cool. Christopher, or sorry, you can create a second thing if you'd like to create an event
Yes, I
or
think
another time period.
I would like to create an event inside the Silicon Age of Engineering, which I'm gonna call like the first new machine, which is the first device that they make out of recycled parts to serve their planet's needs. And I imagine it's something simple to like fit a basic need like water, some sort of water pump system or purifier, kind of like I mentioned before, made out of like old parts of the now blown up ship. Like someone was able to scavenge just enough pieces that they can get a little bit of water from the shore to where they're living, so they don't have to make like a mile hike every day for the water.
Okay, that sounds good. You want to go ahead and add that to the Trello board since you've got it open?
Yep. I
So,
can go ahead
and then
do
that sounds like a light event?
yes.
All right.
So
Sounds good. All right, let's see. So now after that, after you add that, it is going to be Christopher's turn to add one thing.
So real quick, Randy, where did you put the legacy at? I'm not seeing it on the Trello board.
It's actually not on the Trello board because I'm horrible. So let me I will update my name with my chosen legacy because each person can only have one legacy. If I can spell survival through violence. There. So there, I've added my legacy. It's in the legend column. And let's see. So first new machine. Excellent. So let me just add a light label to that. Excellent. All right. So Christopher, what would you like to add to the Trello board?
Okay, so right now we're dealing with technology and its effect on everything. So I am going to create an event in the after the crash. Oh man. No, we have a lot of events in after the crash.
That's okay. And the thing is we can also like create like, we can fine tune like after the crash as a time period too.
So I'm actually going to hit the cataclysm since it's right before the Silicon Age of Engineering.
Yeah.
So the event is because the cataclysm, I like the name. I want to create an event that just for some reason just decimates all advanced technology. I mean, the androids might be immune to it, but like everything, all of the old tech that had been saved just stops working.
Ooh. Are we allowed to like offer hints?
No.
Nope.
Boo.
We're all siloed.
Boo.
I know. But part of the reason for that is with Microscope is that like we don't want the the quarterback player, like if you play board games and it's a cooperative game, like sometimes you got a quarterback player who's telling everybody what to do. In Microscope, the reason that everything is siloed is to prevent quarterback players from doing that.
Okay.
So yeah, no, it could definitely work out. Like you could play it that everyone collaborated. And that's what I do whenever I do campaign building. But
Well, fine. I'm not mad.
Yeah. I'm just over explaining things.
I'm glaring at Chris now.
All right, cool.
He's
All right,
glaring at who?
Let's see. So it is now my turn to add something technological. Well, wait a minute here.
So I added the EMP felt around the world.
Yes.
Whether it was an EMP or not, it's uncertain, but I just felt it was a kind of catchy name that encapsulates that everything except for the android stopped working.
Yes.
Ooh, that's pretty cool.
And it's a dark period because every conclave of people relied on one or two pieces of advanced technology that was still working, and then like everybody lost whatever their most important relic was all at once, and it just throws everyone into chaos.
All right, cool. So I am going to go to the war with the androids. Yeah, I'm going to go with the war with the androids for technology. So I'm going to add an event. This event is going to be. Let me think. I need a good alien name. I should have been like looking up my random generators for good alien names. But I'm just going to say the Treaty of XXXXX.
They're super dirty. They're one more X than normal.
Well, it's bound to happen.
Remove the protected status of androids.
Woo.
It's leading to open warfare. Basically what this is that the nations, they're not getting along. I use nations loosely, like warlords, but the Treaty of XXXXXX, which I'll come up with a good name later, basically says that the androids' like status as people is revoked. They're machines, and thus, it leads to open warfare with the androids. I will be honest. I think I don't know. I myself, I don't want to contribute more on the Android stuff, but it seems pretty good. The Treaty of XXX. There we go. I'm going to put that before the androids banding together to claim a plot of land as their own. I'm going to say that part of the reason that this treaty was this treaty led to them finding a plot of land of their own for defense reasons. So that's my contribution. John, your contribution to technology?
Okay. Well, because we already have the new machine, and I want to add to the Silicon Age of Engineering, the discovery of the I can't think of a good name for it, the new material, where they don't find a miracle metal or a miracle resource that is completely replaces uranium and plutonium. They find something they can use for a power source. So maybe I'm going to say that they discover pneumonium, which is able to absorb light and can help them a little bit with their power problems. And that's what they use to build new machines going forward.
All right. Can you spell ammonium?
Pneumonium. N-U-M-O-N, pneumonium, I-U-M.
Pneumonium.
Mm-hmm.
Discover pneumonium, a new power source. All right. And that will happen before the new machine. And is that a light or a dark event?
Light, because it doesn't solve all their problems, but it really helps.
Sounds good. Cool. All right, now we are back to who's going to finish out technology. You can create one or two things to close out your focus.
All right, I think I want to create two contrasting events. The first one is going to happen during the Cataclysm, and I'm going to call this the Rupture. It is when something switches in the planet's geography and it kind of just unravels. Like before it was weird and the flora and fauna were weird, but it was familiar enough. It's at this point that suddenly something swaps and the mountains kind of float a little, trees start moving, things start happening weird. We start getting that weird geography of the planet. And it is completely scary at first, but it's what opens up access to all these other materials in the future. So I think it's a light it's a light event.
All right.
And yeah, it's the one good thing to come out of the geographical or the giant events of the Cataclysm, where it was harmful at the time, but it's good in the long run. And then
all right.
And then I think my other event is going to happen in the time of the explorer's return. And I think this is the coalescence. It's when the explorers and the people who stayed near the ship area kind of meet, and the explorers and the people who stayed near the ship had access to different materials and different resources. And while it's not open arms trading or anything, some of them are smart enough to realize, well, if we take your pneumonium and our like new metal, we can do better things than just staying alone.
All right, so trading with the explorers begins.
Yeah.
With each group having different goods.
Yeah.
Okay. And you said that's a light or a dark event?
Yeah, I think it's a light event.
Okay.
At least initially.
Cool. All right. So, all right, great. All right. So that is as the lens. So that makes John, you get to declare a legacy based on what we've created in this last round. What kind of legacy do you think we've kind of mined out of what's happened so far? It does not have, I mean, it can be about anything that's happened in the game. It doesn't necessarily have to be about the current one, but generally, usually you use the current focus as inspiration.
I'm going to say Treasures of the New World.
It's a good legacy.
You know, the discovery of the materials that, I mean, things get bad. They like, you know, everything stops working, and then, you know, the explorers return, and then the new technology is leading them back towards the path towards off the planet, which is where they wanted to go.
Cool. Sounds good to me. So, all right. So that is your legacy. I've added your legacy to the to it. Let's see. So that now makes Christopher. You are the new lens. Congratulations.
Thank you. I would like to thank my family.
Yeah, here's your sash. What would you like the current focus to be?
The current focus is going to be on exploration.
Exploration. All right. So I've updated that. Christopher, take it away.
Alrighty. So I am going to create an event within the Cataclysm time period entitled the Exodus. And I have no idea how to spell that, so spell check. There we go.
Spell check for the
Don't
win.
fail me now. Yep. All right, so the Exodus is going to definitely be a dark event. And it is when, so in the time of explorers return, where explorers who previously left return, the Exodus is when they leave.
Didn't we already have that happen with Captain Moses and After the Crash? Captain Moses gives a rousing speech and leads a moderate-sized contingent to explore what the world has to offer. Now, that could be one small group, and then this Exodus can be like a larger thing.
Yeah, because this is like a lot of people. Because, you know, Exodus, even though with Captain Moses, Exodus does kind of
led something familiar in the Bible.
right. So if we make the Exodus is actually... So instead of doing Exodus as an event, let's do a scene in the Captain Moses event where, so for scenes, we just need to state a question that needs to be answered, right?
Yeah.
So I would like to do a scene having to do with exploration of Captain Moses and his people. Mm-hmm. And the scene is, the question to be answered is, do they follow him willingly or grudgingly?
Okay. Now, as a reminder, we're doing dictated scenes, so you get to determine that. But if
Oh,
you-
we're not doing the playing scenes? Okay.
Yeah, no, we're not gonna play out the scenes because we're at 9:30, so we're an hour and a half
Okay.
into it, and we have not made it all the way around yet.
Okay. So this is going to be a dictated scene. So it is Captain Moses and a bunch of people are getting sick and tired of what's happening nearby the land around the crash. And he's trying to whip his followers into a frenzy, saying we've found life, so obviously there are better places than just this. We've passed many planets with different ecological biospheres, so obviously there's someplace better than this. We all need to leave now. But at the point, the crash was still fresh in everyone's mind, and most people thought that that either rescue was going to come or they'd be able to fix the ship. And so he pretty much dragged. I don't know what's the correct. Dragged. So he pretty much dragged all of the people with him, either by hook or by crook. They didn't actually go willingly.
Okay, great. Go ahead and summarize that as a scene underneath the Captain Moses scene there and after the crash. I think that's great. That tells us a little bit about Captain Moses and his people and what's going on there. Let's see. All right. So that is pretty awesome. And then that sounds dark, but is it dark or light?
See, I'm torn because as a specific scene itself, it's pretty dark because he's using force and threats. The only way that I can think that he'd be able to do that is he had a piece of advanced technology that he didn't want to give up, like something inherited through the captain's line. So it's like, hey, you either come with me or you're going to suffer the consequences.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he was a massive pain in the ass to everybody. So him leaving makes it a light event for those who stay. But for those who go, we're going to call that a dark event.
Okay. Sounds good. You go ahead and enter that in. So let's see. It is now my turn to talk about exploration. Let's see. Let's look at what we have here. You know what? I am going to the Levi Mining Corporation. So I'm creating an event in the one door closes, another one opens. The Levi Mining Corporation takes control of the ship and begins mining operations in the area. So the Levi Mining Corporation takes control of the ship. We've mentioned that this is a King of the Hill sort of situation, and begins mining operations in the area of the ship. This is a scene. This is an event, not a scene. And I'm going to say that this is a light event because they are mining for precious resources, stuff to power what needs to happen, like, fuel sources. This is obviously a volley to the ship exploding, but hey, sounds good. So, yeah, so there we go. All right. So that is my event. Let's see, or my contribution. Let's see. John, what's yours?
The one I was thinking of doesn't tie in between the cataclysm because I thought about adding on to the one door opens and the one door closes.
The focus is not cataclysm; it's just exploration.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I move down to build the first rocket? Or do I have to stay?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to, as long as it ties into exploration, because that's our current focus. Yes.
Well, I was thinking that with before they can build something that goes beyond planets, they're going to work on building stuff that can explore the planet they're on.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking for the first rocket period, they build aircraft, not build airlines because that sounds kind of cheesy, but they build first new aircraft, NU aircraft. So we're seeing like the larger portions of the planet are being explored because they've developed some planes to scan the planet. We call them the new craft.
Yes, first new craft.
What do the new craft look like?
Let's try to, because we've been going for what's been fairly familiar. Maybe the new craft, maybe they're not like airplanes like we remember. I don't know where I'm going with that. Maybe they're like aircraft, but maybe they're possibly flying saucers or something even like crazier. Like maybe
giant boomerangs.
A giant arm at the airport picks up just throws it.
You know what? Like, listen, that sounds ridiculous, but like having like the new craft air travel being based on slingshots, like, I mean, I'm just saying. But anyway, that this is John Six. The first new aircraft travels being built look like flying saucers.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Is that a light or a dark event?
I say light because it's exploration, and most exploration is like inherently it starts light. And this one is like I know the space race on Earth was all built around pretty much like horrible things going on between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. But I feel like here, even though there's a lot of warring factions, and they just went through the cataclysm, that this is like mankind and other aliens succeeding again. So I'm gonna say light.
Nice. Sounds good to me. All right. What's your contribution?
All right. All right. Since I've been given a lot of light events, I think I'm gonna go for a more dark-toned one this time. I'm thinking somewhere around the cataclysm, not on the side of the world we've been focusing on. The explorers who have been led by Captain Moses have realized that they need to take risks to start getting materials, and so they go in to areas of the sea and like areas of the continent they found that have been unsafe and that were passage was made available to by the rupture, but isn't safe, and they lose a lot from risking there. Like they go into places like the Shrouded Isles and the Jagged Coast, and they lose a lot of ships and they lose a lot of people trying to explore those places because they see promise of material but are unable to acquire it. And it's a dark event because they were already dwindling supplies and population, and they lose a lot in attempting that.
I like it. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, John.
Well, it's just like what he's saying. I like it because it's not like Star Trek. Where they land and it's like, oh, it's the Greek people of the Greek civilization. No, we lost like 5 guys going to the Jagged Coast today. Man, it's really sharp there.
An astute observation.
Excellent. Christopher, would you like to finish us out for exploration?
I'm always up for finishing out. I am going to. I think we have enough time periods. So I am going to add the time of wandering tribes is going into one door closes, another one opens.
Okay.
It is an event that is dark, and it happened very soon after the ship exploded because that was kind of where everybody, the ship was after the King of the Hill battles and no one actually coming out on top. It kind of became their neutral ground, their meeting places. And with the ship gone, they really had nothing holding them to where they were. So people just started up and leaving. And small groups, large groups, individually, they're like, this place sucks. It's been hell. We're going someplace else.
Sounds good. Would you like to create a second thing to close out exploration?
I think that's good. Don't need to add anything else to what's already there.
All right. In that case, then, it is your turn to come up with a legacy.
Okay, so I think I have my legacy, and I think it is divided purpose. I think even when Moses left, they had divided methods, but they had the same purpose, which was to survive and maybe to get off the planet. But I think after the explorers have been isolated for so long and all the different hardships everyone faced, they have different goals. Some of them simply just want to stay on this planet and like become masters of it. Some of them still want to return to Earth or complete whatever mission they were doing, like fleeing from the group they were fleeing from. And so I think for the first time, as a result of these explorers splitting off, we have groups who not only differ in their methods, but differ in their objectives.
Sounds good. All right, I've added your legacy divided purpose. So far, our legacies are survival through violence, treasures of the new world, and divided purpose. So let's see. It is my turn to be the lens. Yay!
You go, Randy. You got this.
I got this. I got this. I want my lens to burn ants. No.
What are we, 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Focus, lens.
Yeah. I want... Ooh, wait. Let's see. That's not... There we go. I want my focus to be warlords and nations.
Ooh.
So, at first, my first thought was to say nations. But like whenever you think nations, you think about the UN and passports. But I wanted to get the right feel because it's going to be like lots of factions molding and breaking apart. And it's going to be like South Africa, like where it's just like whoever has the most guns and money and power is in charge until they get deposed. And then it just moves around. So warlords and nations, so that like as we get further out, they can be more established. Whereas early on, the warlord, like maybe it's more warlords. So that's what the current focus is. So I am going to start by let's see. I'm going to start. I want to create in after the crash. I think. Let's see. I'm going to add an event to after the crash. Warlord Honshu of the... Sorry, I'm using an alien species generator. So, of the Thelusians.
Of the Carolina Honchus, right?
Yes. Which are plant aliens with strong claws and a love of peaches. So Warlord Honshu of the Thelusians establishes gains control over the largest cache of weapons from the ship. All right. And this I'm going to label as a dark event. And it is a, let's mark it as an event there. Yes. Warlord Honshu of the Thelusians gained control over the largest cache of weapons from the ship. So I've created that event in After the Crash. Then under Cataclysm, I'm going to create another event to reinforce this. The Honshu Peach Nation is one of the few surviving nation states. Surviving. There we go. The Hansu Peach Nation is one of the few surviving nation states. And this is going to be a light event. So basically what I've done is I've created a thread. I've started something early. I added something later just to kind of start threading it through. So that's it for me. John, your turn. What would you like to contribute?
Well, if we're going to do like something like a thread, I'd like to revisit our dear maligned pals, the androids, because we know that there was a defining moment in their war.
Yes.
But we never really addressed what happened to them. So I'm thinking that the time of the explorer's return is probably where we're going to see also the return of the androids. Where I'm saying that the last android alcove is discovered. And that, where the androids were thought gone, maybe they were badly beaten in the Battle of Silicon Flats, and they've been gone during the Cataclysm because perhaps that wiped them out too. But now, in the time of Explorer's Return, we're seeing the explorers coming back from the fringes of society, and they just they're bringing the news that hey, we discovered that there are some androids left.
Is a hidden alcove of androids is rediscovered. All right. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Or light or dark, rather?
That strikes me as one of those events where it's both good and bad, but I'm going to lead it towards good. It's a light event.
Okay, great. I've added that.
Okay, I think actually John's newest edition just added perfectly to an idea I've had in my mind, which is of a group called the Technoclesia. And I think with the rediscovery of androids, I'm going to create an event, the split of the Technoclesia, where the Technoclesia is basically just originally a faction trying to advance the technology as much as possible with what we're given. But with the rediscovery of android, a splinter faction broke off and kind of start looking towards the androids and decide that no one but the androids is worthy of technology. And that they kind of want to let the androids show them the way forward, and that humanity and the other alien species are not worthy of this technology. And it's a dark event because it kind of creates a new hostile force to be reckoned with.
Oh, okay, cool. Go ahead and add that to the time of Explorer's Return, and mark it as an event and as dark. So that's pretty cool. So, all right. So while adds that, Christopher, what would you like to contribute?
Alrighty. So our focus right now is on warlords
and nations.
And nations. So I am going to jump all the way to the end where we build the first rockets, and I am going to create. Time period to build the first rocket, and I'm going to create an event that is entitled Space, the Great Uniter, ... question mark.
All right.
So the idea is that it's happening after the new craft show up. So there is, so everybody has pretty much gotten their own spacecraft and their own space program. So everyone is almost working together, but there's still that undercurrent of animosity where it could turn into a big clusterfuck with one wrong move, but everyone's trying real hard. So I don't know if that should be dark or light though, because they're trying, which makes it light, but there's still that. I'm going to go with dark because it has that undercurrent of animosity that hasn't quite gone away yet.
Sure. All right. Cool. All right. And it comes back around to me to finish things off. Let's see.
Photo finish.
Right. Let's see. So I'm going to say that I'm going to create an event in the hold on. I want to create an event. Do I want to create the war with the androids? Something there. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my head around what I want to do. Let's look at the yes. Let's see. We've got hard sci-fi elements, practical technology. Usually I've got like a million ideas. So warlords and nations. Let's. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do warlords are warlords agree to legitimize. Let me spell legit right. That's not right. Legitimize. Spell checker will get it. Warlords agree to legitimize each other. If only to agree to legitimize each other with the promise of removing or of using androids for spare parts. So basically, like the androids are part of like the android, like everyone agreeing that the you know what? That's a duplicate of what I've already done. I'm sorry. I'm having a real hard time. Weird. Sorry, I'm going to do a random name, and then I'm going to create a new nation state.
The new nation state.
The new nation state.
The
Believe it or
New
not,
Republic.
this alien species name actually gave me an alien species name of desk, just to let you know.
That's like me not even trying. It's like, the book Shelby of Christopher.
The
Hat people.
The Cox Nation splits into East and West over the topic of android rights. So the Kosk Nation splits into East and West over the topic of android rights. That is an event. And that is a light event because there are actually people who are fighting for android rights, who believe that they should maintain the rights that they have. And then let's see. The Explorer Nation XXXXX thrives so the Explorer Nation, which I'll give it a name in just a moment, thrives due to diversity. Diversity of ideas, through diversity of ideas and cultures. So basically, the explorers are having a lot more success on the on the far side than they are on the explorers are having a better time due to the diversity of ideas and cultures. Like everyone who's part of these explorers who left, they're working together, whereas everyone who stayed near the ship is not. Okay, this random alien name generator just gave me cat as an alien name.
I mean, are they wrong?
Well, I mean,
not at all.
No, not really. Let me try this other species name. Come on, it's the one who gave me the Honshu, which was actually pretty good. Dushraki, read much Fire and Ice, or Ice and Fire. There we go. Valdorn. I like that. The explorer nation, Valdorn, thrives due to diversity of ideas and cultures. So let's go ahead and add that. And I am making that a light event because that sounds really nice. So that concludes our current focus of Warlords and Nations. And Christopher, you get to declare a legacy.
I am a legacy.
Well, there you go.
The legacy is going to be differences define us, but do not divide us. Because we've had a few good light things going in, and even though there's a lot of warlords and such, this last round has had a lot of solidarity even amongst the different aliens.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. So, with that is one complete pass around for Microscope. I hope that you guys can see why I put the kibosh on doing role-played scenes because we would not even be done. We're almost looking at the time. I don't think we have enough time to do another round. But you know what? Let's do just one more pass where we can contribute anything that we want. Does that feel good?
Yeah.
All right. No focus. Here, I'm going to change the focus. I'm going to make the focus bonus round. Current focus is bonus. If I can spell bonus right. Bonus round. And let that over and send. All right. So we're going to do a bonus round. I did. So with the bonus round, I'm going to let John go first. We can add whatever you like, and we'll just go around adding one last thing, and then we'll just do a quick little overview of what we've got going on.
Okay, so we don't really we know where the story's going to end. We haven't focused on the very beginning. So with the crash of the generation ship on the planet, we know it was a light event, and I'm thinking that the ship crashed because it avoided, let's say, radioactive nebula, but that saved the people, where crashing on the planet saved them from dying in space.
Nice. The ship avoided a radioactive nebula that would have killed, all caps, everyone.
Yeah.
So is that a light or a dark event?
It's light. I mean, it sucks, but, it's light.
Okay, cool. I like that. All right, cool. Anything missing that you'd like to add?
I think, I'll add one more to kind of tie together some technology things in the Silicon Age of Engineering, which is, and to go with kind of like slightly Wild Westy, the traveling caravan, which is one person managed to gather together just the right amount of parts to make a functioning cart that can travel using pneumonium. And until vehicles became more accessible, he went around from island to island, kind of being one of the only neutral players in the entire area, trading with people and kind of being one of the only connections between the different nations, even during strife.
Excellent. Sounds good. Go ahead and add that to the Silicon Age of Engineering.
All right.
Very cool. All right. So as adds that, Christopher, is there something that you'd like to add to the board?
Yes, there is.
All right. Good.
All right. I'm going to use that alien species generator that you're using to see if I can get a good name here.
Desk.
Desk dog, what? Okay. I'm going to add an event in the one door closes, another one opens. If I can spell, the Magiri, which are horse adjacent-ish creatures,
Yeah.
return to the site of the crash after it blows up. So there was something within it something about the ship that was preventing, or that was keeping most of the animals away. And since we're trying to go for a Wild West kind of thing, the horses show up.
There we go. All right.
So that's definitely light.
Awesome. Cool. And then let's see. Oh, wait. Let me... added his wandering caravan. All right. So is there anything I feel is missing? I hate dead air, but I'm thinking. One door closes, another one opens.
Dead air is like white space. It helps emphasize what is there.
This is true. This is true, but too much of it is a bad thing.
If you want, we can just cheer you on. In like old school 90s, business room slogans. Take it to the max, Randy.
You know what? I'm going to be a big old jerk, and I'm going to add a new time period.
Oh no!
Between the Cataclysm and the Silicon Age of Engineering, that is the Age of Recovery. And I'm going to add a card.
Everyone heals a healing surge.
Yes.
What?
This is the time.
Let's think it outside the box.
Hey, 4E, man. Healing surges were the bomb.
We need you to data mine all that information.
I'll mine your data.
I believe that Tasha Yar did that already. So, are you a fully functioning android?
I get it.
Yeah.
Yes, Tasha Yar did indeed.
Yeah. All right. So I added the Age of Recovery, where the people of the world adapt to the changes in the world. So I felt like there needed to be something in there. So, all right. So let's do a little bit of an overview of our history that we've made, shall we? All right. So let's see. Our concept was crashed generation ship. And our legacies are survival through violence, treasures of the new world, divided purpose, and differences define us, but don't divide us. So that we've got some pretty key stuff to take away. So it all started with the crash of the generation ship on this planet. No one's named the planet. That's awesome. We don't have to, but
Planet
Planet Desk. The ship avoided a radioactive nebula that would have killed everyone. After the crash, it was a dark period. There were deaths by local flora and fauna in the first few weeks as settlers learned about the planet. There were schisms of factions. One group wants to stay close. Other ones want to go like nearby. Others want to get further away. Dozens of nations form along xenomorphic lines. Captain Moses gives a rousing speech and leads a moderately sized contingent to explore what the world has to offer. However, Moses, unable to convince people to leave with him, forces them to join by hook or by crook. So the rousing speech motivated some, and he had to motivate, quote, others. Warlord Honshu of the Thelusians, plant aliens with strong claws and a love of peaches, gains control over the largest cache of weapons from the ship. Next up was the war with the androids. Parts were sparse and androids are made of parts. The Treaty of Zolmans removed the protected status of androids, leading to open warfare. The androids all band together and claim a plot of land of their own. The Battle of Silicon Flats is the defining moment for the androids, which it's interesting because we never figured out what happened to the androids. The Kosk Nation splits into East and West over the topic of android rights. And then one door closes and another one opens. The ship itself, which had been, mined for parts for years, maybe generations, explodes. There was the time of the wandering tribes as people realized that they didn't have any reason to stay near the ship anymore. And one continent was just as good as another at that point. Time of wandering tribes should come there. Actually, let's see. The Levi Mining Corporation takes control of the ship and begins mining operations in the area. This may have led to the ship exploding. And the Magiri, which are almost horses, return to the plane. This is followed by the Dark Cataclysm, where a giant geological event leads to famine and problems. I think had we explored this further, it'd probably be tied to the ship exploding. The EMP felt round the world. Basically, that all advanced tech stops working except for the androids. The rupture, suddenly something dramatic happens with the planet, revealing a different landscape, like different geological features, not quite up is down and left is right, but definitely exploring some of that different landscape. The explorers on the far side of the world take risks to get materials by exploring the jagged coast, and a lot of people die. Sorry about that. The Hansu Peach Nation is one of the few surviving nation states during the cataclysm. Then there is the Age of Recovery, where people adapt to the changes of the world. It is followed by the Silicon Age of Engineering, where the nations are developing and figuring out what they can and can't do on this world. They discovered pneumonium, a new power source. This leads to the creation of the first new machine. And nation is able to build together the first machine made out of existing parts and native materials, showing that there is a way forward with what they have. The Wandering Caravan, Mr. Switzerland scavenged together the right parts. Sorry about that. Mr. Switzerland scavenged together the right parts to make pneumonium-powered cart and acted as a neutral trader between all of the factions. Then there was the time of the explorers' return. Trading with the explorers begins, and each group has different goods, and so it's a good thing. A hidden alcove of androids is rediscovered. Apparently some of them hid away after the war. The split of the Techno-Ecclesia, one of the only non-xenomorphic factions dedicated towards advancing technology for all, fosters a splinter faction. This brotherhood believes no one but androids are worthy of technology, and that androids should lead the way further. The Explorer Nation, Valdorn, thrives due to diversity of ideas and cultures. And we see the building of the first rocket. The first new craft air travel vehicle is built. They look like flying saucers. And space, the great uniter. And so that is the history, the eras, the wonderfulness that we have built tonight with Microscope. How did you guys enjoy that?
I thought it was really cool. I mean, I'm a nerd for this stuff, anyways. But as like a world building exercise, I thought it was pretty cool. I especially liked how, we'd make our moves and kind of like our counter moves, where it'd be like, "Hey, this really good thing happened." It wasn't that good. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I had a good time.
I enjoyed it. I mean, for me, a lot of, especially a lot of games nowadays come prepackaged with their own settings. So just being able to take an evening to make your own is something I haven't done in quite a long time. And it took a while to get the creative juices flowing in the appropriate directions, but I'm looking forward to trying this again sometime.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I had a blast doing this. Even towards the end, I started racing in my mind of different settings I would want to try this in just for fun, and different how could I use this to set up the history of an RPG world that I'm gonna run, and just other ones that's I really like this general setting. What if we told a story in it through Microscope? So I'm definitely going to be using this again.
Awesome. Good. I'm glad that you guys really enjoyed it. I had a great time. I love world building, and so this was a lot of fun. One of the things that when you play Microscope more often, one of the things that you start to think about is you start to kind of branch out into more world building things. Like when you have more cycles, because what we really did was we went through once, which was a lot of establishment. of things. Had we had more time, we could have played 2 or 3 more cycles, or I'm sorry, 1 or 2 more cycles, and that would have helped like flesh out things because, you know, we had our focuses were on like the first blush things, but then we started to get into things like, let's start making NPCs to populate the history. Let's start making like plants and animals, and like, you know, that starts to really like get things fired up. But yeah, but this was great. This was a lot of fun.
I loved it. Yeah, I mean, just the things that it really makes you think, especially when we set out to make a world that wasn't just like, it's like, you know, it's like Firefly and Battlestar Galactica, but it's on a planet that's like New Orleans. It's like, no, it's you know, when we were like, no, let's make animals that like don't look like normal animals, or let's try to make tech that's not like, you know, like, not to toot my own horn, but the whole, yeah, you know, they made aircraft, but not like Boeings. They made like, you know, flying saucers because of the new metal, or the groups you guys were coming up with were it never occurred to me to make plant aliens who really love peaches, or because we wanted a Wild West world, we wanted horses, but they're not quite horses, and I kind of wanted to expand on it, like see where that was going, because in my head I was thinking of just like, well, how aren't they horses? Do they have 6 legs, you know?
Yeah, and that's something that, like, you know, can be, you know, sort of established as we went on. So yeah, so no, it's definitely like something that, yeah, no, this is just one of my favorite role playing games, and it's fantastic for one shots because you don't have to bring any ideas, and you don't have to you don't have a GM who needs to run anything. You just need like 1 or more people who know how to play, and boom, you're done.
And even then, I mean, we picked it up pretty quickly, and we didn't know what we were doing beforehand.
Well, I mean, you guys are good gamers, so there's no problem.
It would be interesting if we started getting more competitive with it and seeing like, no, I think that the nation state of would have like lost the war with the you know, the Duchy of Kennedy.
Right? And the thing is you can name stuff after yourself. It's perfectly legit. So
yeah,
awesome.
And like with things with like more exploring, it would have been fun. Like I put in a lot in that split of the Techno Cliche one because I tried to basically establish a faction, their goals, and the main event in one thing. And if we had like more rounds, I could have like, because the idea of the Techno Cliche would have been something interesting, would like create some scenes maybe for them, create more backstory and more future. There's definitely a lot of threads that are like, I wish I had more time to pull them all the way to their root.
Awesome. Well, I think
like Captain Moses, where he starts out like a guy. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Or Captain Moses, where like I started him out as a good guy, but I was like Christopher's suggestion, where clearly he either had to make a choice to drag people along, like, no, this is for the good of the people, or maybe he could have just been like a huckster the whole time and been like, all right, you're all coming with me.
Just took the ball and ran with it. What can I say?
Okay. It's all good. All right. Well, I think with that, we're going to conclude our episode. Thank you to everyone who watched World Building with Microscope. We're the Polyhedral Crew. We are on Twitch every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. We are available on YouTube at /Polyhedral Crew. And although we haven't made a big announcement yet, we do have a Patreon. It's live. I haven't pushed it yet because I'm still doing a little bit of work there. But if you want to be a real go-getter, go and become one of our Patreons. So thank you very much for a wonderful night. And I will see everybody next week.
See ya. Thanks for watching.
Have a good one, y'all. And remember, always check for snake oil salesmen.